Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this man back. He's the founder of the Guardian Angels. He runs True Blue for New York City. If you cut his veins, he'll tell you that. It's Curtis Sliwa. Curtis, how are you? Good to see you.
Getting ready to get locked up tonight. An act of civil disobedience to stop the invasion of illegals into our beloved city of New York.
You know that I'm from New York. I was there a couple of years ago. Did not go into New York City proper. We were in the outskirts of Queens. But you told me, Joe, don't come to the city right now. And since you told me not to, Curtis, I could be wrong, but the pictures I'm seeing, it's gotten a lot worse, hasn't it?
Yeah. In fact, the gateway to the world, Times Square, is now filled with illegal aliens who have been shoved into every nook, corner, and cranny. All the hotels that were advertised to the national tourists to come to the Great White Way Broadway, the Milford Plaza, the Paramount, all these great hotels are now taken over by the illegals, and not because they came here on their own, but because once they made it to the border, you had First Step Catholic Charities saying, where do you want to go? Second step, they're on a bus. They naturally want to come to New York. And third step, our mayor, Eric Adams, swagger man with no plan, just giving them things that average everyday citizens who are down on their luck in New York City, who are citizens, can never hope to get.
GuardianAngels.org. It's Curtis Sliwa, the founder of the Guardian Angels. Curtis, as I watch this guy, Adams, every time he finds a microphone, he's saying something stupid. I'm going to make my haters my waiters. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What I do know is that, and you know this better than I do, that he said it's a sanctuary city. We welcome everybody. It's not even 100,000 that have gone to New York City with that immense tax base. He was full of crap. Here I am in Texas, where we've gotten 7 million illegal aliens, 7 million in Laredo and McAllen and Brownsville and Laredo. These small towns, Del Rio, they can't handle it. So you send him to New York to prove a point, and the guy, he doesn't know what to do other than to make up rhymes. Has he done anything, in your estimation, to make sure that he quells the concerns of people like you and other New Yorkers that love that city, that left, right, blue, red, they don't care. They're tired of this.
Not at all, Joe. In fact, today he rang the bell, not at Wall Street to end the trading day, but to signal that we have accepted our 100,000th illegal alien into this sanctuary city. Now, you need to know, Joe, there's no law that says we're a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state.
Right.
This is all based on proclamation. At any point, you could say it's over. But let's take you back a year in August of 2022.
Okay.
Governor Abbott was saying, no mas, no mas. We're overwhelmed, all of our Texas cities, border cities.
Right.
We've got to send the illegals to the sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. And they want to go to New York. And so Eric Adams, instead of saying, gee, why? Why is there a problem? He said, Abbott, you're a racist. I'll take everything, everybody you could send, and we'll give them PlayStations, plasma TVs. We'll put them up in 3-star hotels, give them Obama phones, healthcare, swag bags. The moment they showed up at the bus terminal, they had a whole greeting line, starting with Eric Adams and his $5,000 customized suit, and then
Right.
Cardinal Dolan, the Catholic Charities, because they get federal dollars on the side from federal taxpayers to pay for the illegal aliens once they get across the border. It's like a racket. And I keep saying all these contracts, no bid contracts to care for the illegals, no bid contracts. Wait a second. Let's take a look at where all the money is going. And there's no transparency. It's basically
Right.
You say contract, and I know there are kickbacks galore going to all their cronies.
Yes, and the NGOs, you mentioned Catholic Charities, and you're right. They're doing all these things once they get on this side of the border. Guess what? There are also encampments of these NGOs on the other side of the border telling people how to fill out the paperwork, how to use the app on their phone that they're handed, the Obama phone, as you said, and then they're coming across the border and getting parole or a court date 7 or 8 years down the line. Curtis, this thing's broken. What Trump was doing worked. What Trump was doing was the right thing to do. Biden is on vacation on Rehoboth Beach somewhere, ignoring Maui, ignoring the real problems we have with homelessness in New York and L.A. and other big cities, and we're welcoming 7 million people. Adams appears to be changing his tune a little bit, but then again, I'm not there in New York. He's saying he's ringing a bell about the 100,000th. Doesn't sound like he's changing his tune, but I thought he said Biden's got to do something. Did he not say that?
Well, he never says Biden. He always says the federal government. He never names and shames. And to be honest with you, they're trying to have it both ways, Joe. They want the 7 million illegals to come in because they know one day they're going to have anchor babies. They're going to be considered residents. Maybe one day they'll be able to vote, and they'll
Right.
always be grateful to the Democrats to the day they die. They'll tell their children, children's children. You see those two pictures on the wall? That's Joe Biden or Papa Chulo and Eric Adams. He's the guy who took care of us. Always remember the Democrats till the day you die. So that's what they're banking on. And Eric Adams, like every other mayor in New York City, thinks he's going to run for president. They all have, and they've all crashed and burned, whether they were good mayors or bad mayors. And that includes Bloomberg, Giuliani, de Blasio, John Lindsay. And Eric Adams already thinks, boy, if I can get a Latino vote combined with the black vote, I can be the next president after Biden. And guess what? He couldn't be more hopelessly wrong. And yet we're the ones now who have to pay all the tax dollars to subsidize this madness.
Yeah, it's incredible because, again, it's Curtis Sliwa, by the way, the founder of the Guardian Angels. He's going to do some civil disobedience tonight. Going to get into that in earnest in a second in Queens. But the interesting part of this is they really, truly believe what you just said. But Eric Adams, I mean, he had I believe Biden and the administration blew him off when he went to Washington. Then he goes to the border here in Texas and acts like he has a better understanding and still does nothing about it because I think you're right in the back of his head. He thinks he's going to run for something. Curtis, maybe I'm stupid, and there's a good chance I am. Giuliani at least did something really good for the city. He could say, hey, here's why I'm running for president. I did all these good things for the greatest city on our entire country. Adams can't say any of that. The mayhem, the death, the homelessness, the mob crime that's going on in the city. That's all on him.
No doubt. And even though Rudy saved New York City and became America's mayor after the attack on 9/11, he was number one in the polls running for president. They said he was untouchable. By the time he made Florida, where half of New York lives, he crashed and burned because even New Yorkers didn't vote for him. It's a total different landscape. Once you're mayor, you go no further. Just do your job. And Eric Adams, unfortunately, has dug himself a hole now that even Chuck Schumer, who can always find money as a majority leader, always can, hasn't given him a nickel, dime, or penny. That tells you a lot. They don't trust Eric Adams. They don't trust how he cooks the books.
You talked to me about this many times. You ran against Eric Adams. I think you should have won. I think most of New York now wishes you did, to be honest with you. But you told me if he reached out to you, you would work with him to try to help fix the city that you love. Is he talking to you at all?
No, he dissed me and dismissed me. And quite frankly, I'm not the worst. I've gotten less of that kind of treatment. His own people, African Americans. Joe, if not for the African American vote, he would never have been mayor of the city of New York.
Right.
You would have thought to the victor go the spoils. He's now going to take care of African Americans, of whom the majority of the homeless that we have, the destitute, the emotionally disturbed, the veterans who are living in the streets happen to be African Americans. So you would think you would take care of them first. No, he's told them to the back of the line. I'm going to take care of people I don't even know, who haven't been vetted, who haven't been vaccinated, haven't even been given a medical checkup. I'm going to give them priority treatment. And you live in the streets, live in the subways, live in the parks. And at Creedmoor tonight, which is a psychiatric facility of the state of New York, it's only 30% full. You would think they'd be getting some of our emotionally disturbed persons and giving them mental health care in this state facility, but they're not. They're bringing in illegal aliens.
You know what? It sounds a lot like, Curtis, and tell me if I'm wrong about this. Obama came in. He was going to be the big change. He was going to be the hope and change. Yes, we can, all that stuff. And he did less for black people than Trump did. Obama had 8 years to really do what he said he would do, but he turned out to be some elitist from Hawaii that had no connection really to black Americans. And Trump walks in, does the Second Chance Act. He's pardoning people. He's changing the criminal justice system where it's imbalanced against black people. Why do you think folks keep on falling for that? I think a lot more black people are realizing that they're conservative and realizing that what I just said is true, that Trump looked out for them and Obama didn't. But why fall for an Eric Adams? Eric Adams is nowhere near as impressive as Obama is.
Joe, no doubt. But I think slowly, and they're the last to learn this, that it's better that you're free agents. You're in nobody's back pocket. Let the Democrats and Republicans come to you and lobby you and try to convince you that their candidacy is in your best interest. Now, the Asians have done that. Increasingly, there are more Republicans. Latinos, obviously, we know the white vote. You know, that's always up for grabs. The only vote that you can guarantee will vote 95% for a Democrat, no matter who it is the African American vote. And they have to understand, in order to get here in America, you have to be a political free agent and let the politicians come and try to convince you that they have your best interests at heart.
And by the way, you mentioned the Latino vote. South Florida went for Trump, went for DeSantis. South Texas along the border, they're all red now. They're like, oh man, are we conservative because we're finding dead bodies, washing up on our shores. And we don't want that anymore. We need that guy back who is closing it down. It's Curtis Sliwa, the founder of the Guardian Angels. Go to guardianangels.org. Curtis, what's going on tonight? You say this facility is only 30% full. When you go and others go and chain yourselves to the facility, what might you accomplish?
Well, they have built for the illegals a modern tent city. By the way, subcontracted to a Texas company.
Wow.
A no bid contract. So I want to see where all that money is getting kicked back. But it's state of the art. I mean, you go into this tent, it's like what they had for our U.S. military in the sands of Kuwait when we launched that campaign, the first one against Saddam Hussein. Right. Air conditioning, bathroom facilities, 72-inch plasma TVs, PlayStations, and gourmet food. And if you're not happy with the food, Joe, you say, oh, I don't want a bagel with a schmear. They say, well, what would you like? And if you say con arroz habichuelas, beans and rice, they'll say, sure. Hey, by the way, put a chuleta on top, a pork chop. Absolutely, we'll take your order.
Wow.
And average Americans are saying, are you out of your mind? These people are going to keep coming because they're going to photobomb back to their country of origin. They're going to video. They're going to let everyone know you better come to the border and cross over because eventually they're going to come to their senses and close the border.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When they first started showing up a year or a year and a half ago, whatever it was in New York, there were banks of phones that we all saw the video where people would get there with their free money, free phone, free health care, free clothes, free facility to stay in, and now call your relatives back in Peru and or in Afghanistan, tell them to come. Because here it is. It's all waiting for you. If I were to go to New York City right now, might I find a hotel room in a nice hotel, or are they all booked up with illegals?
No, they'll actually rent you a room, but won't tell you that there are illegal aliens that are going to be side by side with you. You walk onto some of these floors, and it's like at a college dorm room. The doors are open. Young men and young women are running back and forth. They're smoking weed. They're drinking cerveza. Man, to them, this is like they hit Powerball or lottery. Wow. They're going to party to the break of dawn. They're riding up and down the streets, mopeds, e-bikes, no licenses, no registration. And people are saying, what happened to our city? You look like a third world country. We used to be the crown jewel of America, the economic engine. People wanted to come to New York City. Now they can't wait to leave New York City, the ones who live here, and the tourists who come here go home and tell the horror stories of you don't want to go to New York City because it's like going to a third world country.
It's Curtis Sliwa, the founder of the Guardian Angels, going to chain himself to this facility tonight in Queens. What's the best result? You're going to get arrested. You know that's going to happen. You've been arrested 70 some odd times, I think, now. What's the best result? You get locked up. You get the media coverage. People now get exposed to the fact that these people are living like the elitists among us, and they're illegally here. Is that the best result, just awareness?
Well, it's the start of many more demonstrations, Joe, and the left. These are their tactics. So we've co-opted their tactics. From the days of the Vietnam War demonstrations to those who have been peaceful, nonviolent ways of protesting, like Gandhi, like Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
They're not expecting it from Republicans and conservatives. So we've co-opted their methods. Every demonstration forward from now will have civil disobedience, and we're going to drive it home to these politicians, send them back, finish the wall, and if nothing more, put them on the National Mall between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial and put the tent there so that Papa Chulo, Joe Biden, can see them right out of the White House.
1,000%. It's Curtis Sliwa going to go and get this done tonight at the facility. Let me ask you this while I still have you. If you were to somehow you become mayor tomorrow, can't happen, but let's say it does. What's the first thing you do to start fixing New York?
I got to tell you, I am running again against Eric Adams.
Good.
It's quality of life issues. The quality of life issues here are miserable. It's got to be zero tolerance for both the legal and the illegals. And once you start doing that, the city will prosper. It'll revive. Tourists will come again, and we'll be able to polish. We'll be able to polish New York City. And once again, it can be the place that people want as their destination. Now it's not. It's an empty city. At times, at 10 o'clock at night, you can roll up the streets in New York City. There's absolutely no activity because of crime.
Democrat or Republican, liberal or conservative, that's really what it is in New York, isn't it? Quality of life. If your quality of life sucks, you're going to vote for somebody who's going to fix that.
Yeah, I think people have understood. You go beyond party definition. Look, Joe, they don't look at me as a Republican. They say Curtis has been here doing this for 44 years. It's almost like out of Trump's playbook when he ran against Hillary the first time, 2016. Right. What do you got to lose? We've just been destroyed. 8 years of de Blasio, who was lazy. Now we got a guy for 2 years who thinks God commanded him to become the mayor 30 years before. He actually tells us he communicates with God. I mean, wow. He's crazy. So we've gone from lazy to crazy. And I'm going to say to people, what do you got to lose? I've been here 44 years. You know me. These guys sold you a false bill of goods.
Is the campaign website still up?
No, we had to take it down, obviously. But you can just go and contact me through Guardian Angels because that's what I do every day in addition to talk radio at WABC.
Well, make sure you get a hold of him. Make sure you support this candidacy. When you announce it officially and you get the website back up, come back on. Let's make sure that people understand that it's time now for New York. Curtis, best of luck tonight. Let us know how it goes and come back on soon.
Yeah, well, I can depend on you to put up bail if they decide to make me the only criminal that they remand to jail. Even murderers don't get remanded to jail in New York anymore.
It's crazy. Curtis, we appreciate you. We love you, brother. Keep up the fight. We're back after this. Stay right here.